and welcome back to Mexico News Network's Breaking News. Remember, we still have plenty of positive information for you guys coming right ahead, so browse through our website on www.mexiconewsnetwork.com to find out more. And also don't forget to follow us on social networks on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Google+. Now let's move along to more information. Professor Stephen Hawkings has launched a new effort to answer the question of whether there is life elsewhere in space. The venture is said to be the biggest yet in support of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The 10-year effort will listen for broadcast signals from 1 million of the stars closest to the Earth. The $100 million initiative was launched by the Breakthrough Initiatives Group at the Royal Society in London. Speaking at the launch, Professor Hawkins said, in fact, somewhere in the cosmos, perhaps intelligent life may be watching these lights of ours, aware of what they mean. Or do our lights wander a lifeless cosmos, unseen beacons announcing that here, on one rock, the universe discovered its existence? Either way, there is no bigger question. It is time to commit to finding the answer, to search for life beyond Earth, he states. We are all alive, he said. We are all intelligent. We must know, he indicated. Those behind the initiative, in fact, claim to be the biggest scientific search ever undertaken for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. They plan to cover 10 times more of the sky than previous programs and scan 5 times more of the radio spectrum, 100 times faster, in fact. It will involve access to 2 of the world's most powerful telescopes, the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia and the Parkes Telescope in New South Wales, Australia. Now, among those involved in the search is Lord Martin Rees of the Astronomer Royal. The search for extraterrestrial life is the most exciting quest in the 21st century in science. The Breakthrough Initiative aims to put it on the same level as the other ultimate scientific questions. The public will be invited to participate in efforts to find a signal from another world through the SETI at Home project. Yuri Milner, a high-tech US-based billionaire and founder of the initiative, said that technology had developed to a point where it was possible to put listening for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence on a proper and adequate scientific footing. He said that current technology gives us a real chance to answer one of humanity's biggest questions. Are we alone? With Breakthrough Listen, they are committed to bringing the Silicon Valley approach into the search for intelligent life in the universe. Their approach to data will be open and taking advantage of the problem-solving power of social networks. Professor Hawkins added also that he believed that the research was one of humanity's most important scientific endeavors. He also explained to understand the universe. To understand it, we all must know about atoms, about the forces that bind them, the contours of space and time, the birth and death of stars, the distance and dance of galaxies, the secret of black holes, but it is all not quite enough. All of these ideas cannot be explained to everything. They can explain the light of the stars, but not the lights that shine from planet Earth. To understand these lights, we must know about life itself and about minds. In other news, the world's largest and most powerful gamma-ray observatory looks set to be based in Chile and the Canary Islands following a decision by the governing board of the Cherenkov Telescope Array, also known as the CTA. Sites in the Atacama Desert and the island of La Palma, already home to major astronomical facilities, were in fact chosen ahead of rival sites in Namibia as well as Mexico. All of this for the northern and southern portions of the CTA, a millionaire facility that will allow astrophysicists to study some of the most energetic and distant objects in the universe. The decision came during a 2-day meeting of the CTA Resource Board. The board, made of representatives from 14 of the project's 31 member countries, did not give final approval for the site selection. That is the job of the CTA Council, in fact. However, it did vote to start formal negotiations with the European Southern Observatory, better known as the ESO, which operates the perennial observatory in Chile and Spain. Chair of the CTA Resource Board, Beatrix Veer-Karn-Rudolph, would not tell Science Insider how the 14 members voted. However, she did say that it was not an easy decision since all 4 bidders put forward were very good sites. The selection criteria were many, she explained, including the site's environmental sustainability, scientific potential, and likely cost. However, one factor that stood out in both cases, she said, is how swiftly construction could get underway once the official green light was given. The Chilean site is less than 10 kilometers from the ESO's perennial observatory, which has significant infrastructure, like the 4 8.2-meter optical observatories of the Very Large Telescope, which is already in place. The northern site, which is operated by the Institute of Astrophysicists of the Canaries, sits at an altitude of 2,200 meters and is already home to the 2 MAGIC gamma-ray telescopes. Now, the CTA, which should be completed by around the end of the decade, would allow scientists to carry out a range of research projects across astrophysics and the fundamental physics, from the origin of cosmic rays to particle accelerations around black holes. The array would also look for signs of hypothetical dark matter particles, and it would comprise 120 individual telescopes of 3 different diameters, 24, 10, and 12, and 4 to 6 meters, about 100 of which would be located in the southern hemisphere. Just like existing ground-based gamma-ray observatories, the telescopes would not detect gamma rays directly, however, would instead pick up the flashes of lights given off when gamma radiation interacts with atoms in the upper atmosphere. Renee Ong, an astrophysicist of the University of California, Los Angeles, and CTA co-spokesperson, says that negotiations with the hosts of preferred sites should take about 6 months. Now, during that time, he said, CTA member countries will need to establish, among other things, whether money offered as part of the site bids really will be made available. He says that Spain has offered to contribute upwards of 40 million in support of the La Palma site, while ESO has not made any financial offer, sadly, but is very interested in partnering on the science and management of CTA. He also notes that the ESO Council has still formally approved on the site proposal. Ong says that a number of member countries have shown a strong intention to provide funding for the project. However, the threshold of about 80% funding, at which point construction would be approved, has yet to be reached. He hopes the line can be crossed during the next few years. If it isn't, though, he says that the project scope may need to be adjusted. In more news, high-tech glasses that allow the blind to see could be on sale as early as next year. Now, the gadget, which is hoped to cost no more than a smartphone, will allow wearers to see movement as well as facial expressions. It could also help those who are normally confined to their homes navigate shopping centers or simply walk to the corner shop. The glasses work by combining information relayed by an infrared beam and a normal video camera. A small computer processes the data before it is projected onto the lenses in the form of line drawings, with closer objects appearing brighter than they are. One tester for the Oxford University prototype said that the extra vision made him feel like an actual superhero. Another could see her guide dog for the very first time, and it's thought that up to 100,000 Britons could benefit from this breakthrough, which capitalizes on the fact that most people who are registered blind can still perceive light. While they cannot be used by people who can see nothing at all, they are designed for those who are severely sight impaired and classified as blind sometimes. And despite the bulky prototype, the technology is advancing so rapidly that researchers in fact hope that the final product will be no bigger than chunky glasses. They also want to add an earpiece which will scan the image and pass on details such as bus numbers by reading out loud. Now currently, under half of Britain's 365,000 registered blind people leave their home each and every day. Lead researcher Dr. Stephen Hicks said the idea is to give people with poor vision greater independence and confidence and an improved quality of life. In some cases, details such as facial features can become easier to see, making social interaction much more natural. The glasses work particularly well in low light and can be used to cope with night blindness, the researchers said in fact. In more news, bacon-flavored seaweed is the new kale. Really? Scientists are currently cultivating a marine plant that's packed with more nutrients than the trendy green superfood kale. And it naturally tastes just like bacon. Bacon-flavored crackers, bacon-flavored salad dressing. These are just two of the savory treats that have been created so far using the domesticated strain of dulse. Now, this is a kind of red algae or seaweed that typically grows in the waters along northern Pacific and Atlantic coastlines. Dulse is usually harvested in the wild, dried out, and then sold for up to $90 a pound, according to researchers at Oregon State University Hatfield Marine Science Center in Newport, Oregon, who developed the domesticated strain of the plant. The OSU researchers are working on making dulse more affordable and more widely available. Their strain of the lettuce-like marine plant can be cultivated using hydroponic farming methods in which the plants are grown in water without any soil. Now, these methods make dulse much easier to grow and harvest and therefore more affordable. The researchers are currently producing about 20 to 30 pounds of this fast-growing plant each week in two large water-filled tanks at the Hatfield Marine Science Center. However, Chris Langdon, a professor of fisheries at OSU, who is leading the seaweed farming effort, said that he and his colleagues can amp up productions of this delicious plant to 100 pounds a week. Now, Langdon has been growing dulse for about 15 years now, but he and his fellow researchers only recently patented their novel strain of bacon-flavored seaweed. The researchers originally started growing the plant as a food for abalone, a kind of large edible mollusk that is often raised in commercial aquaculture farms. An excellent source of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and protein, dulse becomes into the perfect food for farm-raised abalone. Langdon said that the original goal was to create a superfood for abalone because highly quality abalone is treasured, especially in Asia. We were able to grow dulse-fed abalone at rates that exceeded those previously reported in literature, Langdon said in a statement. However, researchers recently shifted their focus from feeding abalone into feeding humans, in fact. When Chuck Toombs, an instructor in OSU's business department, stopped by Langdon's office for a visit, he saw the tanks of seaweed growing outside Langdon's door. Toombs had come to ask the fisheries professor if he had any ideas for business projects for students. Clearly, the appeal of a bacon-flavored health food was not lost on Toombs. Business students at OSU are now working on a plan to bring this nutrient-rich and delicious-tasting seaweed to the market. But first, they need to figure out a way to grow more of it, which should not be too hard, according to Langdon. Such operations are already open and running in Europe, where dulse has been harvested for human consumption for centuries now, he said. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more information after these few messages.
Audio Jungle.